When I arrived at the scene on the 30th of September last year to record the police arrival after reports of a murder in an industrial estate, that I would actually know one of them. William Henry was a father and a father-to-be as well. He had a kid on the way at the time of his death. And Brian McIntosh had a fiancée and a family as well, a very respected family in the Bartley Green area. And they both had worked at the boxing gym and they helped in the community, and a lot of people were devastated when they was murdered. Today, Johnathan Houseman has been convicted of their murders, and the police say that it was over a £400,000 debt to do with waste removal and a business that they shared together. For some reason, the mainstream media newspapers are saying it was £200,000, but I'm assuming the police are aware of what was actually said, so I'm going to go with what the police officially say, and they said 400,000. I'm going to be quoting direct references from the court as well. William Henry and Brian McIntosh had a business, WJB Skips, and they shared it with Johnathan Houseman. From my research, I found out Johnathan Houseman, he had a lot of different businesses that he'd opened and shut down over the years. And he come from a nice family with a big house in the Stourbridge area. Johnathan Houseman's mother is actually a former police officer. The prosecutor in court said that Johnathan Houseman stood to gain from their deaths by wiping out the debt. The court heard that Johnathan Houseman was paying William Henry and Brian McIntosh £3,000 a month, and he had begged his friend to help him with money. Richard Avery also stood trial but has been convicted of perverting the course of justice. Johnathan Houseman was so desperate to get rid of the debt that he managed to run up another debt with Avery and a friend to try to get a firearm to kill William Henry and Brian McIntosh. Text messages revealed in court from Avery to his friend said he's going to give us 100 grand, he's going to pay us in bits. He also said I had him on his knees and he was begging me. The court heard Brian McIntosh had already taken Johnathan's Range Rover as collateral against the money that he owed them, and this would be a major bit of evidence as well when they would later be found dead in the same car. They were becoming increasingly frustrated with Johnathan, who was not paying the money on time. The court heard that at 12:25 on September the 30th in 2020, Johnathan Houseman made a call to Brian McIntosh to check that they was on the way for the meeting in the industrial estate. Johnathan Houseman had opened the gates to the industrial estate to let them in. Brian McIntosh and William Henry arrived at just gone 1 p.m. The evidence in court said that they were shot from behind, so the shooter must have been sat in the rear seat of the Range Rover. The prosecution dismissed Johnathan Houseman's claim that there was a fourth man present and who was responsible for the killings. He said this is nonsense, there was nobody else in the car but you three. The prosecution said in court that at 1:10 you can see the Range Rover 5 minutes before the murder. You can see them coming into the Albion Works and parking up. The car reverses and the headlights are illuminated. The vehicle reverses back towards the fence and there is a projection from the driver's side window. There is then a puff of smoke, and 1 second later there is another projection from the driver's side window. On the CCTV 3 seconds later, the Range Rover drives forward and then hits a metal fence and comes to a rest. The rear side passenger door opens and a person can be seen leaving. Fast forward in 9 seconds, the person who got out of the car then returns and turns off the windscreen wipers and the headlights. And moving on 15 seconds, he then gets out of the rear passenger door. That same person can be seen running off into the right of the camera. The prosecution said the sequence of events from the CCTV from the Albion Works in Bridie Hill showed what was happening. The camera was quite distant, so you don't get the full view of the Range Rover, but he said you can see what occurred. Johnathan Houseman was shown on CCTV also leaving his house on the same day in his silver Astra and driving to meet them and the Albion Works. He parked his car at the rear. The jury was shown an outline of the industrial estate. There is an alleyway that runs next to the industrial estate, and he got through a gap in the fence to make his escape. Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel at the scene of the double murder in Dudley, Bridie Hill. As you can see, it's an industrial estate unit just off the main road. And we'll just get you a little bit of footage. There's loads of cameras, loads of news reporters in the area. And we'll just show you. This happened at about 1 p.m. yesterday, where 2 men were shot in a car that was parked inside there. Yeah, we're just at the other entrance to the alleyway in the Dudley double murder, where the police have locked off both sides of the alleyway. And as you can see, the dogs are active down in the alleyway. The Range Rover was examined by forensic scientists, and various pieces of ammunition were recovered from the car. Found in the boot was a shotgun cartridge case. Mr Burrows said the DNA link was actually to Avery. So Avery's the one that got off with murder. He only got convicted of perverting the course of justice. A major part of the investigation and court case was debating about how Avery's DNA got onto the ammunition. And he said in a prepared statement that he'd been threatened by people and could not name them, and his life and family's lives were in danger. Houseman made no comment when he was arrested by police initially. Mr McIntosh was hit 4 times in the face and neck, and the front seat passenger William Henry was hit twice in the head and shoulders. The best friends died almost instantly at the scene. Moments after the murder, Johnathan Houseman drove to H2O car valeting business that was run by his friend Richard Avery in the Merryhill shopping centre. CCTV showed Houseman removing his clothes, which would then be covered in blood and gunshot residue from the close proximity that he'd shot them. And you also need to account for how loud that would have been inside the car. They said that CCTV showed him cleaning himself in some type of fluid, and Avery, his friend, was seen bagging up clothes that was worn at the time and putting them in the car that would later be destroyed in an incinerator. Detectives established that they all worked together, and they had not been paid for the money that the police say was over 400 grand. Johnathan Houseman said that he had paid a small proportion of the money, but they were becoming increasingly frustrated and had made threats. Houseman has been convicted of the 2 murders after an 8-week trial at Birmingham Crown Court. Avery was found guilty of perverting the course of justice, and both will be sentenced at a later date. During evidence given in court by police officer mother Alison Sayers, she told the court that Johnathan, who denied murder, was kind and that he hadn't changed even after the brutal double murder of 2 fathers. She said that she'd given her son over £175,000, that equated to 250 grand with interest paid on credit cards over the course of 13 years. This was on the understanding that he would pay them back when they retired. The witness told Birmingham Crown Court that she gave her son the money to pay off business debts, and she had other people threatening him over money that he owed. Mr Sayers explained to jurors how at times Houseman would come to her, was visibly upset and distressed, and would beg for money, but also found it difficult. Houseman had tried to leave up the M6 to dispose of the murder weapon in a scrapyard, but there he was arrested as well. So he planned this murder for potentially weeks, even months, and he was caught within a matter of moments after it happening. So it actually blows my mind that his mother was able to sit in court and describe her son as a kind person after he had done something so brutally savage and greedy, and it was all for his own gain. So I want to send my condolences to the family of William Henry and Mr McIntosh, and I hope that some people can take some lessons from this to try to not get into debt in that way, because there's only one road that it goes down. Every single week I'll cover a story where somebody has got themselves into a crazy amount of debt, and that is somehow connected to a story. So I really appreciate you joining me today. Please pay your respects in the comments. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Peace.